Okay. Thank you so much for joining in today. Um, please confirm that you can hear me.
Oh, yes, I can. Very well.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. Dabiri, Subomi, and Abayomi, are you able to turn on your video as well? Okay.
Yeah, I can turn on my video. Good
Okay.
afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. So I think we're just going to start. Dabiri, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I will turn on my video shortly.
Okay, okay, no problem. All right. Hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome to another edition of our webinar series. Today we're going to be speaking on scaling logistics in emerging markets, and for this conversation, we brought in four guests to join us today. With vast experiences on the subject matter, so this is going to be a very insightful one. Just before we officially start the session, I'm going to do an intro of each of the guests. Or, I'm going to give you the floor to introduce yourself. I'll just read a short bio of each person and then I'll still let them, introduce themselves. So, I'll start with Walter. Walter is the CEO of Ship Africa. Ship Africa is a fast growing logistics and technology company that's connecting African businesses to the global market. Um, Shubomi here, okay, Abayomi here, let me start with Abayomi. Abayomi is the field operations manager at Gamma Mobility, and he oversees he oversees fleet operation at Gamma Mobility. Also, Shubomi is the co-founder and CEO of Novoinno. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Correct. He's
Yeah.
the founder and CEO, but correct.
Okay. Is the founder and CEO. Apologies. The founder and CEO of Novoinno, a supply chain and logistic company, streamlining global trade for African businesses. And then joining us as well is Oluwaseun Dabiri, who is the product manager at MyCover.ai. So yeah, you can see that we have a very stacked house for this conversation. But yeah, I'm going to open the floor for Walter. Just before we start, just intro everybody. Me personally, let me intro myself. My name is Susanna Prophecy Daniel. I'm the head of marketing and comms here at MyCover, and I'm going to be your anchor for today's session. So yeah, Walter, you have the floor. We'll start with you.
All right. Thank you so much. You said a lot already. My name is Walter Isoko, CEO Ship Africa. We are a Pan-African logistics technology company, helping small businesses move products across Africa and globally. So yes.
All right, thanks so much. Thanks a lot. Shubami, you want to go next?
Oh yeah, hi, you've done the intro. I know the only thing you missed out was the co-founder part, but yes.
I apologize for that.
No worries. Hi, my name is Subomi. I'm the founder and CEO at Novoinno. We're a technology-enabled supply chain and logistics company, enabling businesses and individuals in Africa and emerging markets to trade seamlessly.
All right, thanks a lot. Thank you. Abayomi, you have the floor.
My name is Abayomi Bolaji. I'm the field of manager in Gamma Mobility. I manage all field operations as when it comes to asset operations in Gamma Mobility. It's more of a relationship kind of stuff with law enforcement, riders, and everything that pertains on the field. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Abayomi. Dabiri, you're up next.
All right. I'm Oluwaseun. Um, I'm technical
Can,
product manager at
can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me?
Okay, yeah, but you're a bit. Can you hear us?
Yes, yes, very well. You are muted, Susan. You are muted.
You're a bit muddled, like it's not clear.
Okay, what about now? Can you hear me properly?
It's a bit better, okay, but the audio could be much better.
Okay. All right. So my name is Oluwaseun. I'm a technical product manager at MyCover.ai. And MyCover.ai is an initiative
We can't hear you.
startup. Really?
Yes, we can.
Okay, just give me some 2 minutes. Let me do this before I go.
It seems like I think it's a connection or audio issue from his end, but I think we'll just start while he tries to join in. So, right, this conversation, before I go in, just to give like an overview of why this is important. Logistics is the backbone of any global economy. The ability to move goods from one point to another, it's you cannot overemphasize it. And typically we'll find that emerging economies and countries that are still trying to come up, one of the core things that they struggle with is typically you find that their logistics, transport sector, all of that supply chain, there is a bit of a break in it, but um Nigeria is still one of Africa's biggest economy, at least for the foreseeable future. And there is a thriving logistics system, and there's a thriving logistics economy or sector that powers this one way or the other. So we want to really go deep into this because we know that behind the scenes, putting all of those efforts to make sure all of these things work together with the infrastructure deficits we have, with the economic deficits we have, with even the people and manpower deficits we have, it takes a lot. So what does it take to scale logistic in emerging markets? And so that's what we're going to be going into today in this session. So if you're in the logistics supply chain, this is going to be very insightful. As you've heard from our intro of our guests, they've actually worked in these fields and they know what they're talking about. So I'm going to start the first question with you, Walter. um, when we talk about emerging cities, what does scaling really mean in that context, right? So what would it look like to scale in an emerging city? Because when you talk about your success rate, you're looking at a different definition compared to maybe someone in America or the US or Europe. It's a completely different definition for emerging countries like Nigeria or sectors in Africa and all of that. So what does that really look like?
Okay. Thank you for that question. So basically, right, for emerging cities, most especially in the African markets, I mean, as a founder, if you're looking to scale your business, I would say you need to focus on resilience, right? Resilience, sustainability, adaptability. Because the volume will come, most especially if you are putting in the right amount of work to grow your business. But now the question is, what happens when you have the volume? How do you sustain that growth, right? So this is why I advise founders to build systems that work, systems that are sustainable, right? Most systems that can adapt because these emerging cities are, they're unpredictable, actually.
Yeah.
So, yes, this is what it is. Focus on resilience, right? Volume will come as long as you are putting in the work day to day. Yes.
Okay, so I think I have to ask you about systems. You mentioned systems, and I typically in developed countries, in more established countries, there's an idea of what that looks like.
Yeah.
There's something predictable. You know what to expect. You can make forecasts and be very assured that yes, okay, 1 2 will equals 2, 1 plus 1 will
Mm.
equals 2. But here
Mhm.
sometimes it's not like that. So when you talk about systems, what type of systems or what do you mean in that regard? How are you thinking about it?
So when I mean systems, I'm talking about systems within your business,
Okay.
basically. Systems that, so for example, a typical number, let's assume you're a small business, you just started out in logistics, and you are hit with a daily volume of 1,000 shipments, and you do not have that capacity. You don't have the system in place to handle such volumes, right? So that's what
Yeah.
I mean by putting in the right systems that can sustain the growth you are expecting or the growth you are trying to build. Yes,
So
that's
being proactive instead of being reactive. Like before,
exactly.
if you're building, you're looking to scale, you need to know,
Yes.
okay, yeah,
And the reason for that is because you see most founders they chase volumes without building that system, without building the necessary structures. And when the
absolutely.
volume comes, it's a problem. You cannot handle it. So yeah.
Absolutely. Right. Thanks a lot, Walter. Dabiri, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me better now?
Okay. Yes. Yes, we can. So, I think we've started. but yeah, you've not missed too much. All right, thanks a lot, Walter. My next question would be for Subomi, and it's outside of the logistics space, right? There's a lot of misconception around what it takes to build in emerging cities. You know, like Walter just talked about, sometimes not being prepared enough for the volume you're expecting because you just assume, okay, let me make a postulation, I should be able to handle it. But what are some of the biggest misconceptions that people really have about what it takes to build in this sector, in this industry?
Thank you. I think first of all, one of the things is that technology is going to solve everything, and that's not the case here.
That's a bold one. I do like that one.
Yeah. And to be honest, and if I say it, I think that I was part of the people that had that school of thought initially, right? But as you continue and you begin to experience things, you get clarity, and they say hindsight is 2020. So
Yeah.
you then begin to see that, okay, well, yes. And for me, my mantra is that it's humans and technology that do the work here. Yes, I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I'm not saying technology, because
Absolutely.
the world is a global village now, and things are moving faster than even we can comprehend. But yes, I would say that first of all, it's really
Yeah.
a trust stroke execution problem, a technology problem. And I think that we need to look at it that it's humans and technology. So technology will amplify what is already functional. And for there to be something functional, it means that the human part of it has already put as Walter said, the systems in place.
Yeah. Yeah, I do appreciate that context because, like you said, sometimes there's always this school of thought. Okay, let's just build a product around it, or let's just
Yeah,
build
like
an
you can
app.
build something exactly, something with one thing or one app or one product in quotes, can can do the work, and most
Do,
times
do
that's not
you
really
do
the
you
case.
have a use case for this? Like, maybe an example of a scenario where technology is not enough. It's like really just bring it or solidify it in the mind of our audience.
Well, I think that we're using we have a use case right here already, and it's the space as technology in itself. The truth is, any app that you're seeing that is functional right
Yeah.
now in the space, there is a lot of manual work that is going on the back end, right? So all
Yeah.
the customer really knows is that, I click on this, I click this, I see this
Yeah.
process, I see this status, whatever, and but there's a lot of manual work that's going on, even where some automation is happening on the back end. Somebody still needs to push a button to then let
Yeah.
that workflow continue automated. So again, that's just one clear use case, and it's around the entire sector, not just one part or one.
All right. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Subomi. Abayomi, this next question is for you. Can you hear me? It seems like your network is breaking a bit. Okay, can you hear me?
Um,
Um, all right. So I don't think we can hear you. But are you back? Let me know it because you're muted. Hi, Abayomi. Can you hear me? Okay, I think I'm gonna have to come back to.
Susanna, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. You were breaking for a bit there. Okay. Dabiri, I'm gonna move on to you while Abayomi connection is restored. But before you joined, Walter had touched briefly on systems being necessary to scale operations, logistics operation in a market like ours, like in emerging markets in Africa generally. So I want you to really talk more about some of these systems that are necessary for um, logistic companies, supply chain companies to really be thinking about to implement before they do need to, actually come to face the pressure that comes from scaling. So just talk around the systems. What are some of the systems that logistic companies, supply chain companies can really build or put into their product phase to help with scaling?
All right. Thank you, Susanna. I think in the last 1 decade, we've seen the evolution of emerging technologies here and there. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Can you hear me
Hi,
now?
Dabiri. No, you're still far up. I think perhaps taking off the earpieces might help. Is it possible
Okay,
to remove?
I had to use the earpiece when you didn't hear me before.
I think it might be
Let me know.
muffling the sound.
Okay, let me remove it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What about now? I'm using my computer mic now. Can you hear me?
Okay, your computer mic.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's much better.
Okay, all right. It's raining heavily here. It might be disturbing my network. So,
All right, there's no problem. You can
okay,
just go on. I'll
confirm you
mute
can hear
myself.
me properly now. Confirm you can hear me properly.
It's slightly better.
Okay. So as I was saying, I mentioned that over the past 1 decade, we've seen how logistic has expanded and how logistic is now one of the go-to operations that we have across industry. Either you are in the food industry, food tech, you are in health tech, you are in health tech. If it is food industry, you have the last night delivery guys from the vendor down to the customers. Then if it is in health tech, you have people that are delivering meds, that are delivering meds equipment from one vendor to another. Now, in all of these processes, there's one area that is very common that people can miss out, and that area is protection. Who is protecting the goods? Who is protecting the humans? Who is protecting all of the operations? And that is where things like insurance comes in. You see a case where people are, you know, posting here and there on social media. Oh, I sent a vendor to pick my food and the meat has disappeared. I sent a vendor to pick my wig and the wig has disappeared. Now, if we are looking at a scaled logistics system, then there must be protection. Protection for goods, protection for human, protection for operation. And that protection must be incorporated into the system. Because at the end of the day, you want to protect your business, you want to protect your customer, you want to protect your staffs. So insurance as an important tool to scale logistics in Africa is very, very important. And that must be incorporated into the operation from the first time the customer is getting access to the platform to when the goods is being delivered. Yeah. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much, Dabiri. And just to recap, insurance is one way you can build systems because of the unpredictability of the market. Just making sure that when your customers say, help me take it to point B from point A, you don't hear stories, and sometimes those costs will come up to affect your what's it called, your revenue, or even your brand perception. We've had so many cases of brands like that where things became they became unreliable because of loss of packages and stuff like that. So thank you so much. That's one way to actually protect yourself. Abayomi, we're going to move on to you, and my next question is for you. You do have more hands-on experience, actually working in the field for operating in the insurance in the logistics sector. And there are a lot of challenges, a lot of infrastructure gaps, from payments, from roads, that often defines how logistics can scale in Africa. So what are some of the ways in which you can build for those gaps rather than around them, right? Like, that some of these things exist. If, for example, if I want to start a logistic business in Nigeria now, I feel that I might already know some of the problems to preempt. I wouldn't know all of it, because you have to build sometimes to now see those things head on. But how do you build for those gaps, right? Instead of around them, because it helps as a cushion in a way, based off your experience and some of the things you've seen. Could you help shed light on this as well?
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So first thing is it's about gaps. You need to build with the end in mind. You have to have an end-to-end thought system about what you're trying to build. There are obviously gap in our society and in our economy, in our systems, and we need to
Yeah.
build a process um that actually allows those gaps, and we have to work with them. You could see businesses that have logistics is not just about having bikes or having cars. You see innovations like using tricycles or bicycles. These gaps came in when we were having subsidies and every other thing like that at that point in time. So they brought in bicycles. Oh, we are not waiting for fuel again. So we see businesses like Chowdeck, Glovo, utilizing that. Even Uber uses all these low consumption, fuel consumption vehicles. They are also in EVs because of fall barriers and smart things like that. So our systems that we build when we are trying to build a logistics system, you look at the gaps. We have bad road infrastructures, not everywhere cars can go or bus or trucks. So you might have to navigate using bikes, tricycles, motorcycles, and every other thing like that. And also the teams that you bring on board or teams that actually work with you have to understand this gap. And in understanding this gap, you have to understand the system at which you are working in. You have to understand your customers. You have to understand people they are dealing with. You have to understand places you are trying to deliver to. You have to understand places you are trying to serve. If you are looking at a location whereby it is riverine, your logistic business in that area might not even need to be bike or anything like it. It might need to be maybe using a boat, a canoe, or whatever it is. But if you're looking at an area whereby, oh, it's an highway, you cannot use a bicycle, you cannot use a mini bike. You have to use a 200cc bike, or you use a car. So, and if you are talking about using interstates, you have to be talking about using a bus, a truck, or whatever it is. So you have to understand what platform you're trying to serve, the type of people you're trying to serve. You have to understand um where you are, what your customer base is. That is actually the first part of it. If you understand your customer base, then you're able to function efficiently, you're able to function adequately, and you're able to do things the way you should do things, and you would not be left caught by surprise at any point in time. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Abayomi. That was very very insightful. Sometimes like just like Walter said when he started, is that you cannot preempt some of the system itself. And you mentioned something about child like using bikes, Uber having those small cars. As a end consumer, I'm just like, why these small cars? Why are these cars tiny like this? You don't necessarily see the behind the scenes thinking behind all of these things, but it just gives you context about how much of building is really understanding the market you're building for, understanding your customers, and understanding how best to reach these people. So I'm just going to follow up with that. And because of all of these realities, we obviously know that it's a bit different to build in our economy because of the gaps that we have. When would you say you need to go digital versus when to stay manual? And I'm going to also throw this to Subomi right after Abayomi answers. When would you say you need to go digital versus stay manual? Because everybody wants to do a tech first solution. Everything is tech, but the truth about our logistics system is it starts low tech. Most of our people, the drivers, all those end people, they just want something simple and easy to use. So how do you balance that? Hello, Abayomi. I don't know if you can hear me.
Sorry, I can't take that question again. You were breaking at that point in time. I couldn't hear you clearly.
Okay. I was talking about when to go digital versus manual, because some of these things we want to always build tech first solutions, but we also know that the realities of building in African markets is very different. Well, most likely our people will prefer a solution that's preferably low tech compared to So how do you decide when to go digital versus when to stay manual, given all these realities? You have to do all of these checks and balance. What are some metrics that should influence your decision to go digital versus manual?
Okay. Okay. So first thing I say is this: when it comes to how to balance or how to start, I say I say when you want to start anything, start lean, start small, start technology is make work life easier for people and our processes easier. But the reality is that you understand the requirement of what you're trying to build. You have to build a tech based on what the customer, the end users want. You have to understand who are your clients, who are your customers, and what they want. So before you can do that, you have to get dirty. And getting dirty means you have to go manual first. And after you've gotten the necessary database that you need to build your processes and your structures, that's when you could actually integrate tech. Because if you integrate a tech without understanding the people you are serving, what happens at the end of the day is that you are building a tech for yourself and doesn't serve the people. So you have to build a tech that serves the people, and the only way you can serve people is by understanding what they need, what they want, and how to serve them better. Remember that businesses are for other people, not for you. You're doing your business because you want to make something out of it. But the only way you can make things out of it is when you are serving the right set of people and you are serving them right the way they want to be served. So thank you.
Thanks a lot. So ultimately, the decision will come down to the data you have and your customer behavior. Um, I'm going to also open the floor, Subomi, for that question. Thank you.
I'm just gonna piggyback off about what Abayomi said. To be honest, it's really just about data, and I can speak from experience because we too started manually before we then moved into being technology enabled. So we started off WhatsApp first initially. That was the only technology, and then gradually then moved into having our own platform and then everything being in one place. And I think another thing that would then advise that um, pivot, as I would say, is your operations really. Can you still manage everything manually? Can you still manage everything off WhatsApp? Or should you have everything in one place so you can have staff A, B, C just go into the cloud and do what they need to do and see everything in one place rather than having to share your WhatsApp with X person or that person or that person. It just keeps you tidy as an organization because that's another thing. Your image is important as a business, so that when the customers see your company, they feel okay. Yes, I can use these guys. They're tidy, they're corporate. All of that things. So those are the things that really would determine your move. And also, I think one of the things that has really affected a lot of people's thought process around whether manual or technology is more of if you're trying to raise capital. And I'm not even using the word startup, but just if you're trying to raise capital, the people that have been releasing capital lately, VCs, etc., tend to want to see a technology product. And most times, before you know it, you rush to go and build a technology product, but you've not really done the groundwork. You've not built what you need to build to be able to allow that product function because you're trying to raise money. And so I do think that at the time you need to step back and then look at it and build the sustainable first so that then you can build the product out and then still raise your capital, where required and keep pushing your business. So yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, Subomi. Thank you, Abayomi. I think that answered the question in depthly. And now moving on to Walter. Um, Ship Africa redefines cross-border logistics for small businesses and businesses generally. So, how have you balanced global best practices with the reality of African infrastructure with building? How do you balance the fact that okay, we still need to compete at a global level, or at least keep these standards at a place where we know okay, this is good, but sometimes there's also a lot of shakiness in terms of the realities of our ecosystem, the realities of our sector. So how do you balance it? How do you maintain a middle ground, basically?
All right. Fantastic question. So basically, for us at Ship Africa, we try our best to study global companies, right? To also understand global best practices. So I'll give you an example. One thing I like so much about small businesses and like markets in the US or Canada is how best well they package their items, in boxes. They understand the best practice to, box items and things like that. All right. But for the African markets, sorry to say, it's a different case, right? Merchants really do not understand how well to box items, the best way, right? Now, for us, what we've done is we do a lot of customer education on that as well, right? That's one leg. And also, just so that we are also integrated into the local process, we have like micro hubs where these customers can take those items to for proper packaging or to help them vet. So yes, that's how we're trying to. So we're not just copying what we see in the US market based on innovation, but no, we're trying to redesign it to fit into a local context. So that's the idea. Look at what the global companies are doing, but look at also how you can model it into the local context as well. So yes.
Right. Thanks a lot. I do like that example you gave, because we do have the packaging issue. But yes, there's always a stark difference between the care that goes into how items are packaged. And that's also a good metric for, making sure that you're maintaining global standards with your own execution. Dabiri, I'm going to come right to you to talk briefly around, I think, PAC for those delivery guys on bicycles. Someone had asked, can you give a brief overview of what that looks like or how that works? What would care look like for delivery drivers? Say you're in the logistics sector and you need delivery guys to ride bicycles, deliver on bike. What does that cover, or what does that entail?
Okay, yeah. So personal accident cover actually comes in different variances, and that is depending on the organization. Take for instance, the way boat is going to handle PAC for the operation is different from how child deck is going
How
to
shall they
handle.
hear?
Yeah, so for a company like Bolt is running a decentralized system. That is, they don't own the vehicle. People uh, come there to onboard their car, onboard their motorcycle, and all that. So Shell in the other hand, sometimes to a large extent, owns both the motorcycle and perhaps if they're using it for their operation. So in the instance of Shell will not only insure the rider, they are going to also insure the motorcycle. So they are insuring the motorcycle while also insuring the rider. So the motorcycle uh, often is always a comprehensive insurance. Comprehensive insurance covers both the motorcycle and also the rider. In case of organization that uses the bicycle, so personal accident cover is always the go-to cover for them because currently there's no insurance company covering bicycle as at today, to the best of my knowledge. So mostly is vehicle, car, buses, trucks, motorcycle, tricycle. And now that we are running a decentralized system, because we want to ensure that logistic operation moves smoothly and customers are able to get their goods in real time, especially in distance that are not more than 5 to 10 kilometers. That is where you see the use of bicycle. Still yet, we want to be able to cover um, the rider because you will rarely see a very fatal accident for a bicycle. Yeah. And because bicycle cost is not that costly, uh, the need for PAC is much more important for the rider. So PAC most time is always for the rider to ensure that in case of accident, in case of anything, the
Okay.
rider is covered. However, there is also another cover called GIT that might be applied to the good the rider is even carrying. So either you are using a motorcycle, you are using a bicycle, you are using a ferry, you are using a truck. There is also a cover that is applied to the goods, which is goods in transit (GIT). So those are the cover that are available beyond the PAC.
Thanks a lot, Dabiri. And just to do a recap and to be just do a recap, you mentioned that you can't insure bicycles, but you should be able to insure a motorcycle or a car that you purchase for the purpose of delivery as a logistic company. And if the goal of insurance for you would be to insure the goods that your drivers are delivering to the customers, GIT, which is goods in transit insurance, would be a better option, right?
Of course. Yes.
Yeah. Right. Thank you so much. Moving on to Subomi now. My next question is for you. At Novoinno, you talk about, you know, innovation for impact, making sure what you do really, touches the people it needs to touch. But a lot of these ideas and a lot of innovation, sometimes, they work on paper, but perhaps in execution, it didn't work out. So I want in the logistics sector, do you want to share maybe one example of something that on paper maybe even the data supports its execution, and then when you went to the market it didn't work, and what was the lesson or what was the learning curve from that experience?
I think one thing, and that was when we were transitioning towards the technology enablement side of things. I think one of the things was that we were trying to automate supplier verification, right? But then you realize that as much as you can't really do that. You
Mm,
need to most likely have an ear and an eye, or ears and eyes on ground, to be able to just walk into the supplier's factory or warehouse just to see for yourself. Because yeah, you can use different things to verify documents, but it's most definitely better to just see on ground. So yes, the tech stack or technology side is still there, where you let us know who it is, give us the details, but there's still a manual side of things where you still need to do your verification, and that's something that we too learned, but we learned fast from it, and kept it moving. But yeah.
all right, what really was the challenge with verifying manually? Were people not receptive to it, or you just found that it didn't work?
Oh no, no, no. There's no. It's not the manualness of it. It's the trying to technologicalize it.
Existing
Yes,
process.
yes,
Oh,
yes. Again, you learn, hindsight is 2020. You learn that you cannot technologicalize everything. You can put some level of process of technology around it, right? But the in depth, it's still a manual, very much manual process, and
all
and
right,
that was the learning curve.
thanks a lot. I think that's I'm going to piggyback off this to the next question, both for targeted for you and Walter.
Okay.
And it's really that a lot of the conversation we've had so far, there's been so much touch points about how much the logistics sector itself, it needs an in-depth understanding of user behavior. Um, and I just want you to talk about some of the things that you've learned building in this sector that has reshaped how you build or scale. What you've learned about user behavior itself, because just now you had talked about how you found it difficult to scale an idea that seemed that was really good because there was an existing way of doing things before. So what are some of the challenges you've learned that just center really around user behavior that's now reshaping how you build and scale for the logistics sector?
Walter, do you want to go first?
All right.
Okay, yeah.
As I spoke last.
So Walter, let's have you open the floor.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, right, in terms of user behavior, just like I had used a case scenario earlier as regards how small businesses, in terms of packaging in the African market, it's different from in the US. So one thing we've learned is most times you need to actually speak to the customers, right? If you're trying to build out a feature, if you're trying to build out a new product or something, ensure that you have an idea if that product will be beneficial to that customer, right? That's one. Two, you also need to be able to study data, existing data of similar products to see how customers are interacting with such products. Because yeah, at the end of the day, one thing about products is, and it's I would also use that to touch points on what Abayomi said as regards when you're trying to scale from manual to maybe full digital products. You need to ensure that your customers are with you end to end process in that circle, because your customers are like the major stakeholders, right? They are the ones who would use the product. So if it's something that would not work for them, it affects your entire sales, it affects your entire volume. So yes, that's one thing I have learned. Stay close to the customer, have a listening ears on the customer, take their feedbacks and use that to refine your product. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Walter. Shubami.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback off what I said, but I think at the end of the day, what the customer is really asking for is some level, especially in our space. And I think Walter would say truth to what I'm saying is that they want to have a level of certainty, they want to have a level of control, they want to have an idea of, oh, okay, my package, you say my package has left here. How is it looking? Where is it? Can I have some level of updates? Right. And you know, the thing about it is that, example, if you go on a DHL, right, you don't really get updates step by step or every day. Just as the item is being scanned at every hub is when an update will come up, right? And not everybody understands it. So there's also a certain level of customer education around that. And then also you providing, you know, those tidbits of updates to them so they feel, oh, you know, my package has left here, so it's getting closer to me, it's getting closer to me, it's getting closer to me type of feeling. Again, you just have to work around the customer. And also another thing is putting yourself in their shoes. So example, both of us have this type of products. I want to send something to the US, right? I know how I want to feel if I'm sending to the US. I want, you know, the updates. I want to know, okay, what's the process? Is it easy when it gets there? You know, those type of things. I don't want anybody to stress me in delivering or accepting or whatever. So those things are, I would say that those things are very important as you know, you move around your products and your updates and how you fix the product, how you build out the product, and etc. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Subomi. Thank you so much, Walter. I think one thing I picked out from both your responses is trust is important at this stage. Your customers need to feel that they can trust that their package will get to them. And one way you build that trust is by constant communication with them through every process. And I do see that even as on the end user side of things, like whenever I buy a thing, I want to know, okay, when is it coming to me? If you keep quiet, I'm going to lose faith in that system. And that's typically where issues arise. Thanks a lot. Abayomi, my next question is for you. There's a lot of informal sector, informal systems in emerging cities like Nigeria, Kenya, generally in Africa. We have a very informal structure of trade. Riders have local unions. We have local transport unions. I think there's NURCW in Nigeria. Basically, my question would be, how do you integrate or navigate these informal networks without losing structure, right? So you have to factor them into what you're building. You have to factor them into what you're doing. So how do you integrate that? You know, we have all these unique informal systems without losing structure, especially when you're trying to scale your logistics business or what you're doing in the logistics sector.
All right, thank you very much. Like I said earlier, maybe I'm going to pick it up from where I stopped earlier. We need to understand that the way our system, our structure is organized is a very, very manual setting, and you have to be quite mechanical with your processes and the way you want to go about whatever you are doing before you could actually even go digitalize or whatever it is. But in the real sense, what we need to understand is that processes and structures are things that are actually keen. You have to, when you are building something, you have to build something that is going to grow, something that's going to stand the test of time. You cannot stand or we're trying to try different things. We're trying to build structures that across the board or across every city that we try to go to. All we need to tweak our little things, but we have to remain the same. If you like, let me something in in Nigeria and Kenya, Nairobi, African countries, most people talk about innovation, and but one thing about innovation is that it helps you grow. But what keeps your business alive are the processes and structures that you put. If you or your processes, what happens is that you might end up crashing what you built because you are not true to what you stand for. And for business what I said earlier, and Subomi, they said something about trust. They were keen because whatever you are building, it is not like you are not a consumer of what we are building. You have third parties that are consuming your products. So people are consuming your products. You have to make sure that whatever you are building, it is in their own interest. So I would like to talk about bringing in tech into it. Like I said earlier, I said something about gathering data, gathering insights on whatever this customer needs. The more you build, the more you scale, it might get to a stage whereby your operational capacity cannot comprehend your business anymore.
you have to introduce tech into it. And when you introduce tech into it, you have to ensure that what you are driving mechanically is what your tech is driving for you digitally. The moment whatever you are driving mechanically is where and when you are trying to be, it affects your customers. And that is what so they need to ensure that what their processes are, their processes are at every point in time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Abayomi. That was very, very insightful. I think the one thing about what your how tech can support you, especially because we've established through this call that our logistics supply chain sector is still very informal. So what you're driving manually should be supported by what you want to use your digital channels to also push. So there is an alignment there. Thank you so much, Abayomi. We're just about to round off this session. It's been so good talking to everyone, and also for everyone who's joined in. Thank you so much for joining in. This is our webinar series. Yes, I can.
Okay, there's a question.
Yes, I'm about to have you take the question. Yes.
Okay.
So you will take the question. Yes. But yeah, just before we take the question, and one more question for all members of the panel before we close this out. This is a webinar series on scaling logistics in emerging markets, and we've been speaking to 4 really amazing guests with experience in the sector, and they've been giving so much insight. So if you're just joining in, you can still go watch this series right after we finish today. It's going to be uploaded to our YouTube channel permanently. So yeah, I'm going to have you answer the question, Dabiri. What percentage for goods in transit, what percentage is usually paid out as claims compared to the cover made? This question is from Oluwaseun. He wants to know.
Okay, so firstly, I will like to analyze on the type of GIT that we have. So the question is, what percentage is usually paid out? So the claim payout is dependent on the situation of the claim. So, and after access has been made to the claim, proper documentation, inspection if required, that is what determines the percentage. So the percentage is not static. So the percentage is always on case-by-case basis. So you can file the claim, and based on the assessment of the claim, the coverage that will be paid based on the cost of the item. So take for instance, you are claiming on an iPhone 14, and after evaluating the situation of the claim, the payout is around, let's say, 400,000. That's actually not the actual cost of that iPhone, but then claims are always being paid out based on the situation, the assessment of the claim. So that is what determines the percentage. So I can't say that it's 10%, 20, 30. It's actually based on the claim assessment. However, for claim cover that can affect the claim payouts, we have a type of GIT called capped GIT. That means if you are putting a GIT cover on an item, you can say that for this item, I want the claim coverage to be 200,000. How does that work? If your logistic operation is food item, is household item that are no more than 2 to 300,000, and you want to ensure that you are providing cover to your customer at a very minimal price, you can say that, oh, for the claim on all our items, we don't want the claim amounts to be more than 200,000, and the premium we want to pay is this amount. So there's a fixed amount that is being paid for a cap GIT, and there's a fixed amount that is being paid for the claim. So at the point in time when you are applying that GIT to your goods when it's in transit, you might be paying 1,000 naira, 2,000 naira. So what that means is that by the time you are coming back to make a claim, because it is capped, if it is capped at 200,000, the insurance company can't pay more than 200,000 because you only pay for a 200,000 coverage. If your capped amount is 300,000, by the time you are making a claim, your claim cannot go more than that amount. So it's important that people know the difference between this GIT. There's the GIT that the premium is based on the percentage of the item or the goods, and there's a GIT that is capped, where there's an equilibrium amount that is paid at all time, and the capped claim amount will be determined when that product is being onboarded. So it's important that we take note of that. I think we also have
Right.
another question.
Thanks a lot. I'm gonna have Subomi answer this question. Someone wants to know what can tech do within the dump truck space, saying it's a majorly informal sector. I think they want to understand how can tech improve or revolutionize this sector, the dump truck sector. I'm going to also have Abayomi chip in there, but Shubhanu, please go on.
I saw the question and smiled. I think that their space is a very interesting space, but I think what majorly is required in that space is some certain level of balance around operations, right? So that's routing, what routes to go, what locations should be gone to, or then ticking off what locations have been done. Just basically the management of the operations, where the trucks should go, where the trucks have gone, and where the trucks need to go, that type of thing. And that's where technology can come in on the back end. And so that, example where each of the trucks have, a tab in them, and they can tick off where they've been, and they can be directed as to where to go. I think it's the same type of system that bullion bands have, especially in the US, where there's an ops base where they are radioing each other on what routes to go to, where not to go, and or what has been delivered, etc. And just checking in. That's the type of thing that can work for that space specifically. If there needs to be some technology in that space, yeah.
Right. Thanks a lot. I think that answers it. Thank you. I'm gonna come to you, Dabiri, just before we round off. I wanted us to take one more, but I think it's almost round off time. Briefly give us some ways that insurance can help as a protector, as protection, or financial protection in the logistics sector. How does insurance fit in to both help you grow, to both act as a safety net for you if you're in the logistics and or supply chains industry?
All right. So, like mentioned earlier, when I spoke, I said, if we are looking at scaling logistics in Africa and how we operate, protection is very, very important. So, take for instance, company ABC just purchased 2 vehicles, 2 motorcycles, and 2 tricycles, and those vehicles are operating, and there's no insurance, on any of them. And for whatever reason, vehicle A was going to a rural area where there is the area boys, and something happened. That car got destroyed, and perhaps that vehicle was even gotten on loan or hire purchase for company ABC to do their operation. Now, in that kind of situation, the company has incurred uh, debt in 2 ways. Number one, they are going to try to pay off the debt that they collected to buy that vehicle. Secondly, they will be looking at getting another vehicle for their operation, and that is where insurance protection comes in. So, if there is a comprehensive insurance on that type of vehicle, the situation where insurance will treat total loss, that is, you can get up to the amount you purchased the vehicle. You can say that is a protection in itself. So it allows and keep the organization in operation. So they don't have to halt their service. Perhaps if they have to halt their service for about 1 year just to pay off the debt and gather money again, if there's insurance can help them get running as soon as possible. So that is for operational tools. In situation whereby there's also an accident for a manpower, there's also protection for that driver. Accidents up to loss of life there are protection for drivers who operate logistic vehicles. So it's important that for every logistic company, as you are looking at your branding, you are looking at marketing, you are looking at hiring manpower, you also think about protection. It's a no-brainer for any logistic operator. Insurance is as important as you setting up your businesses. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, Dabiri. That was very insightful. Um, Final question for all our guests. I'm going to have everyone just give their 2 cents or 2 cents on this basically, and it's what's the role of partnership with government, fintech, insurtech in helping logistics operators go from survival to scale, right? We do have surface level conversations on this, but from people actually in the industry, there might be more nuanced perspective and opinions on how um, you can really help the insurance and the logistics sector scale in Nigeria and generally in sub-Saharan Africa. So, what are some of the ways in which we can achieve this? Because bringing these conversations to the forefront is, a good way to kickstart implementation. So, I'm going to have Walter start, and then
All right.
we.
Yeah, I mean, just because we don't have a lot of time, so I'll try to be quick. First things first, for all of these key stakeholders you have mentioned, right? As a business, you need to identify how they can be in support to help you scale or grow, right? For example, government. I mean, you need to stay compliant. So yes, that's one. Fintechs, yes, they can help you collect money from your customers, right? Telcos, they can help you stay connected, right? So you just need to understand what role do they play in your ecosystem, in your business to help you scale. If you try to fight them, it would hurt your business. So yes, that's like the foundational level, basically. Yeah.
All right, thanks a lot. Shubami, please.
Yeah. Again, piggybacking off what you said, it's straight. It's really straightforward. But I think another thing I'll touch on is other parts of it where for us as a business, partnerships are our backbone, right? And they're what we see as it's part of our infrastructure to help us grow. Because at the end of the day, you can't do everything by yourself. Even DHL, one way or the other, has smaller hubs in here and there that still rally all the cargoes together and then bring it to one place and then they then move it. So again, it's a no-brainer. If you are not partnering, you need to find a way to start partnering because one way or the other you see. And another thing from what Walter said is finding the partner that functions for what you're doing. And if you find that partner, you see that one way or the other there's a sync. And once you see that sync, it's a no-brainer. And just speaking of partnerships, it's a type of thing where Ship Africa, we had a conversation and then we started something on our export side. We were not offering exports at the time. We had tried it in a few places, but we just left it off. But then we spoke to Ship Africa, started a few things, and we see the potential and possibility. It's the same way with MyCover as well, where we're then now trying to infuse insurance into our own platform and just make sure that that's functional. Again, at the end of the day, all of these are moving parts and they are part of the ecosystem. And as such, I do not mince words when I say that partnerships are critical. They are part of your infrastructure and it's a must-have.
Right. Thank you so much, Shubami. Abayomi, you have the floor now. Just like an overview of how partnerships can support logistic operators to go from survival to scale. What are some of the ways in which whether partnership with government, partnership with fintech, partnership with telcos, how can they support insurance? How can they support logistics operators to go from survival to scale?
All right. Partnership is actually a very big part of this business, and when we look at it, we need to understand that the business cannot thrive on its own. A business cannot thrive on its own, and it's about having the required resources. Like let's talk about insurance. You see some there are even businesses that like Imali Pay does smart home financing. You see Easy Buy, and the reason for this is because we have
these gig workers actually need smartphones, but might not be able to procure this thing at the right time. So they have this partnership work with them, like, oh, you can get this thing and pay on a Gather business. You even see people go to like my company actually does asset financing. It's actually part of a partnership stuff whereby we help give workers work and have a means to end. So most of these assets that they use for their operations, they can't actually get it on their own. So what they do is that they come to us. Is a form of partnership with them, even though they are our own customers and as a business of its own. So we also have insurance platform like Ever Life Care. So what they do is that they even have some platform whereby readers can even do a trust fund for their children or their family members on a monthly basis, whereby they pay on they just pay instrumental payment that are actually very, very minimal fees. And at the end of the day, before you know, in a matter of years, you've paid like millions of naira in a trust fund for your child. And those are partnerships that are coming into this business as the business unfolds. People see it beyond just riding of bikes or cars or driving cars to locations. Right now, what is about people getting a source, a means to end and a means to life and to even make a stand of their own without having to go through a lot of tussle to do that. People save up millions of dollars or millions of nairas without even having to give drop a lump sum at the same time. They also drop in instrumental payments and something like that. Those are the partnerships that are made available and that make do. That is what I'm talking about right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Abayomi. Dabiri, you're up next. I think you could just also talk about some of the ways in which in which even partnerships with insurtech insurance can help in the logistics sector, help you scale, help you move from survivor to scale, and also whatever form of partnerships really solidify growth in this sector.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm going to take it from the insurtech point, like we do at MyCover.ai. Partnership with logistic company ensures that their businesses are well protected, from their staffs to their items. In fact, we have a 100% all-round protection for logistics, from the computers in your offices. We have gadget cover, to your office content. We have office content cover, to your vehicles, your staff vehicle, your operational vehicles, staff health care, everything. So we can't overemphasize the importance of partnership with insurtech organizations. Also, partnership with government is also very, very important. Just like Abayomi mentioned, when you asked about how do they navigate dealing with NURTW and also all of those association and agencies. So there is a need for strong partnership between logistic operators and government agencies. If you move from point A to point B, let's say you are moving from Ikeja to the island, I can tell you that there's every possibility that there are going to be about 4 agencies that is going to stop a dispatch rider. So, if there are partnership agreements between logistic company, all of these things can be eliminated. So, a logistic company knows that for them to onboard a rider, this and this and this and this are already in place. It also ensured that the operational time that this rider use on the road is minimal, because there is already a government established partnership that ensures that anyone on the road are not just riding, but they are compliant. So I think as the industry continues to grow, this partnership will continue to evolve and grow too. But then we must be aware of this partnership and approach it in a way that is both sustainable to all the stakeholders involved. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Dabiri, for that response. I think we've come to the end of today's session. It's been very, very delightful speaking to everyone joining here. Thank you so much to our guests. Thank you, Walter. Thank you, Subomi. Thank you, Abayomi. Thank you once again, Dabiri, for joining us today. Also, if you are looking for how to embed insurance into your logistics business, just to add that extra layer of protection for your company or for your customers, you can reach out to us, the MyCover.ai team. We provide embedded insurance for people, for businesses in the logistics supply chain sector. You can reach out to us visiting our website, or you can just send a message through us via email, and we will reach out to you and demo what would work for your business. All right, thank you so much once again, and have a lovely rest of the day. Bye, everyone. All right, bye. Thank you.
Cheers.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Bye.